Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Guyana's chief elections officer rules out the possibility of elections until at least mid-year. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, February 8th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield on Friday confirmed that it would be impossible for elections to be held in Guyana by March 19th. Under the Constitution, that's the 90-day mark for polls to be held after government lost a no-confidence vote last December. And it's the date opposition leader Barbados Jagdio has been calling on the Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, to prepare for. But Lowenfield told a news conference that based on the options presented to the GCOM commissioners, a July timeline would be the earliest possible date for elections, and even so, the clock is ticking on that. GCOM officials who were present at the news conference told reporters that for the March 19th date to have been relevant, nomination day would have had to be on the last day of January. They said further that GCOM would not have been able to acquire the necessary materials to ensure a credible election by that date.
Now, the reality is very simple. For us to conduct an election it has option 1 or 2, 1 and 2, and 3. Now the reality is very simple. For us to conduct an election it has to be staffed. At the moment, if elections are to be held, we will have an estimated amount of 2,300 polling stations or thereabout. Those polling stations has got to be manned by staff. And even if I utilize 20 training teams.
The chief elections officer said training for the workers would also take considerable time.
So for anyone to suggest that the Secretariat is moving away, that's the reality. I cannot run an election in part of Guyana. The election is pan-Guyana, Guyana elections, and these staff members got to be trained. One shudders to think if there's going to be a polling station without an attending PO or APU to go there. The decision then will be for someone can very well say, let's close the elections down because GCOM is not ready. We need to understand that fundamentally. So when we suggest that the training regimen, the training subset that is required for the execution of elections, the law in the Gantt chart we prepared shows 105 days that speaks to the training requirement.
Well, opposition leader Barbados Jagdio says he may agree to an extension of the deadline for elections if he sees good faith measures being taken by the government. He told a news conference on Thursday that the opposition would support extending the deadline to July if President David Granger announced that preparations for general elections will get underway. We get more in this report from HGP Nightly News.
The opposition leader stressed that already there were several cycles of continuous registration.
So there is no concern about leaving young people off the list. Absolutely none. 2, that the list is not clean. Again, The parties went to the local government elections, not a single complaint about that.
The concern of the government-appointed commissioners at GCOM is that the list is bloated and creates scope for electoral fraud, but Mr. Jagier feels there could be mechanisms in place to plug loopholes.
Say a person is on the list and has migrated now, okay? That person physically will not be here to vote. If you have strong controls at the polling place, once the presiding officer is there and the polling agents from all the parties, including APNU, is in the polling place, how could someone else vote that is not eligible to vote? And if they have their fingers stained with the ink and every party can see the person's picture ID when they come in, all the parties in the polling place, and the presiding officer doesn't allow that.
On the other hand, while the Secretariat has made proposals to the commissioners relative to timelines, no date has been decided on as yet.
Police in Jamaica are investigating a possible baby stealing racket. That disclosure came from a senior lawman on Thursday as police revealed that DNA tests have proven that an infant whom a woman attempted to register at the Registrar General's Department earlier this week is the newborn who was stolen from the Victoria Jubilee Hospital last month. The baby boy was reunited with his parents at the Denon Town Police Station in Kingston on Friday. The child had been stolen from the hospital in the early hours of January 9th when his mother, Suzette White, went to the bathroom. Investigations into the kidnapping were launched immediately, and the woman who went to register the baby on Tuesday was taken into custody after she was unable to provide officials with relevant information. Signatures on some of the documents she presented were also determined to be fake. She was scheduled to face an identification parade on Friday. Head of the Kingston Western Police Division, Superintendent Howard Chambers, said a preliminary statement given by a suspect in the case has, as he put it, opened a can of worms.
We have a lot more investigation to do. In fact, some of the persons that we would have collected statements from already, we're going to send back for those persons and get further statements. Based on what we are seeing here, this investigation can spiral out into what we can probably term as a baby stealing ring.
A senior investigator in the matter also responded to questions about whether hospital employees could have been involved in the kidnapping.
Our investigation would have suggested that, because based on the security that is at the Kingston Jubilee Hospital, it should be difficult for a person to leave the hospital with a child that does not belong to them. So it must have been the inside job or conspiracy among other persons.
The Antigua and Barbuda government will seek parliamentary approval later this month to declare Liat's operation in the Twin Island nation an essential service. That will, among other things, put restrictions on the type of industrial action that has crippled the airline in the past. Antigua and Barbuda is among the shareholder governments of the airline. The others are Barbados, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Information Minister Melford Nicholas says the Antigua and Barbuda government is seeking to protect his investment in the regional carrier and to help ensure its long-term viability.
Can you imagine life without Liat, without our ability to have interregional meetings, even for us to be able to satisfy pleasure? Most persons are going to be flocking to Trinidad shortly, and we've got the test match coming up in St. Lucia.
Information Minister the Honourable Melford Nicholas underscoring the importance of the regional carrier to the Caribbean. The government says it will declare Liat an essential service when it returns to Parliament on the 21st of February. The Essential Services Act of 2008 places restrictions on industrial action and employees terminating their contracts without due notice. The minister admits that Parliament's action will only apply to Liat workers who are based in this country. It is unclear whether other governments will take similar actions.
I believe that there was an early meeting involving Prime Minister Gonzalez, Prime Minister Gaston Brown, and there might have been another with the unions representing Liat in the network. And clearly, the reality of the situation and the gravity of the situation is made known to the unions. And I think that they have accepted in part that there have to be some adjustments
The cabinet this week authorized a new loan facility of $16 million from the Caribbean Development Bank to assist Liat in restructuring efforts.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, deadly demonstrations in Haiti. The details after the break.
Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Butcher Banton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. Popcorn and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.com. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
We're gonna also add the air leaf at this time. We're gonna be building flavors here.
Demonstrations across Haiti on Thursday left at least 4 people dead and several others wounded. And the Director General of the National Police praised law enforcement officials for showing restraint during the protests, although several of them were hurt when people threw stones and discharged firearms for no apparent reason. At least 15 officers were injured. Thousands of Haitians had attended the demonstrations in support of calls by opposition parties demanding the removal of President Jovenel Moïse and concerns about jobs, corruption, and other issues. There were violent clashes with police who used tear gas and fired gunshots into the air to disperse the demonstrators. Protesters also burnt vehicles and looted several businesses. The death toll from last weekend's boating tragedy that involved Haitian immigrants has risen to 31 after authorities recovered the body of a woman in a portion of the vessel that ran aground in waters off the Bahamian island of Abaco. The latest discovery was made by local boaters who are assisting in the efforts to recover the bodies. Earlier this week, Foreign Affairs Minister Darren Henfield said the Haitian embassy in Nassau had requested the bodies of the nationals from the French-speaking CARICOM country as it wants to take care of the burials. 83 people were on the ill-fated vessel at the time of the accident. 18 of them were rescued. CARICOM has stressed the importance of the European Union as it continues to call for a peaceful resolution to the ongoing Venezuela crisis. A statement was issued Thursday following a meeting with the Vice President of the European Commission in Uruguay's capital, Montevideo. The EU assured CARICOM that its interests will be welcomed as all parties attempt to work towards a resolution without the use of force and through a process which is owned by the Venezuelan people. On Wednesday, representatives of CARICOM, Mexico, Uruguay, and Bolivia proposed a Montevideo mechanism which details a pathway to peace in Venezuela, where President Nicolas Maduro has been under pressure to step down since opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself interim president last month. CARICOM's chairman, Dr. Timothy Harris, says he believes the regional delegation was able to achieve what it had hoped for.
Yes, I think it was a success in that the planned meetings did come off. And the first meeting which we had, which involved Uruguay and Mexico, resulted in a consensus and a statement being issued, agreed by the three sides that were participating, CARICOM, Uruguay, and Mexico. The sum total of that is that in the face of a push to wipe out dialogue and to disnotice the requirement for dialogue as a necessary requirement for peace in Venezuela, we came up with the Montevideo mechanism, which basically spells out exactly what CARICOM was saying.
Well, Barbados gets ready to host Buju Banton next month, and iTunes officially recognizes soca and calypso as music genres. The details in this week's Newsline Entertainment.
The countdown is on for the Barbados leg of Buju Banton's Long Walk to Freedom tour. He will perform at the island's Reggae Festival next month. Addressing the media launch in Bridgetown on Friday, his publicist Ronnie Tomlinson said Buju has been busy in studio preparing for next month.
Buju is rehearsing. The band is pretty much, with the exception of one member, the entire band is back together. So Till Shiloh is back together and will be performing here along with Buju. He is rehearsing about 4 days. Well, the band is performing 4 days a week, rehearsing. He's also a part of those rehearsals. And I can tell you and guarantee that the energetic, charismatic Buju on stage that we all love is coming.
Chairman of Trinidad's National Carnival Commission, Winston Gypsy Peters, is promising a spectacular affair at this year's Dimanche Grand. The competition aspect will be removed from the show, and Gypsy says it will enhance the quality of the event.
The Olympics, it's going to be more like that, imbued with all the aspects of Trinidad and Tobago's carnival. And that is what the whole show is going to be about. So it will be a grandeur thing where you don't have, you see, when you have the competitive aspect, you are in some ways stymied with what you can do, and you have a time constraint.
And iTunes now recognizes calypso and soca as official music categories on its internet marketplace. Music from the two genres was previously uncategorized or listed under reggae, Caribbean, or Latin music. Trinidad-based producer Alvin Daniel says it is a historic moment for Caribbean music and that iTunes have grasped the cultural significance of this designation. Mary Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, the stand-in Windy skipper calls for consistency from his squad as they prepare to face England in the final test this weekend. Stay with us.
Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Buju Banton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. Popcorn and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.com. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Welcome to the WWG 2019 War with Germs. The Oxitec antimicrobial glove is wasting no time, folks.
Quite right, Tammy. I see no way for the germs duel to come back from this.
Oh, what a slam. What a slam. Oxitec is the winner in less than a minute. WWG champion of the world. Find our champion at www.psci.biz or give us a call at 417-0777.
Continuing with sports, stand-in West Indies captain Craig Brathwaite is repeating calls for consistency from the team as the Caribbean men get set to take on England in the third and final test at the Darren Sammy Cricket Stadium on Saturday. West Indies retained the coveted Wisden Trophy after securing a massive 381-run victory in the first test in Barbados and then giving the visitors a 10-wicket mauling in Antigua. Brathwaite takes charge of the final test because captain Jason Holder was given a one-match ban by the ICC for the side's slow over rate in the second test. He's hoping his charges will maintain their aggression in St. Lucia.
West Indies cricket is very strong. For us, it's just aiming for consistency. Obviously we won the series thus far. Obviously aiming to win a third. But for us, it's being consistent. That's one of the main things for us. For us, it's just doing the things we've been doing well. Can't think about what happened before. Obviously, all that's gone. For us as bowling group, we just got to stay disciplined. Also keep the aggression same way, and that's good for us.
The first test bowls off at 10 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time. The third test, bowls off at 10 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time. And that's 9 a.m. in Jamaica. And the Caribbean-sized assistant coach Vasbert Drace is expecting a good showing from his squad. He praised the team for their performance in the first two tests.
I'd like to think that the guys are playing really good cricket. Really proud as an ex-West Indies cricketer. Someone that would have made contributions and being in an environment where you have a group of players that started to believe in themselves. And all kudos got to go certainly to the players.
The former all-rounder says he expects to see the Pacers continue the legacy left by Pacers in the heyday of West Indies cricket.
Have a look at cricket. St. Lucia have a special place, certainly for me and certainly at this group in cricket in St. Lucia. It reminds me of the wickets that was prepared for us, the West Indians in the 70s and the 80s, and certainly that's the sort of environment we're trying to create. The problem with that is obviously we've got to manage the situation with the fast bowlers, so this is something that certainly we have to get right as a human. But the objective is to make sure that we have pace, because pace, what it does is intimidate you.
Meanwhile, regional commentator Fazir Mohammed says the West Indies will be going into the match as favourites following results of the last two matches, but he believes the dynamics could change without Holder at the helm.
Clearly, there's tremendous momentum going for the West Indies, not just because of those two victories, but now that it's 2-0, you've got the opportunity to complete a whitewash over England to almost create some sort of memories of the days of the black washes of the 1980s, even though it's a very different environment and a very different context. So even with the West Indies, without Jason Holder, who's been suspended because of the accumulated poor over a 12-month period, and that in itself has been a bit of a talking point. You would think that the West Indies, with Craig Brathwaite in charge, with possibly either Keemore Paul or O'Shane Thomas bolstering the team's efforts, will have the same sort of spirit, the same sort of act going into the match. So the West Indies, now having started the series as significant underdogs, will be the favourites going to the match, given especially the fact that England have obviously been shaken by this experience. They've gone through a bit of soul-searching that hasn't made a difference to their performances as yet, so we'll have to wait and see what happens from Saturday.
To rugby now, Guyana Ruggers will be aiming to bounce back from their crushing defeat to Colombia when they take on the Cayman Islands on Saturday. Both teams are setting their sights on qualifying for the Americas Rugby Challenge. And in this report from Newsroom Guyana's Akeem Green, we hear that the South American side will be wary of the experienced Cayman team.
The men's 15 clash with the Cayman Islands on February 9th is a virtual playoff to see who returns to the high-level series in Colombia. After giving the harsh reality of what intensity is about, head coach Kenneth Grant Stewart stated the current training regime is good and they are looking to address the issues which plague them in Colombia and implement them against Cayman Islands.
Right now,
what we're doing is just fine-tuning our plays and getting everyone to understand their role and position on the field, and trying to get that oil in the guys, so that we could be more positive in our approach to the game. In terms of fitness, I don't have a problem. We just about 90%, 95%, but it's all good because we got a couple of days, and it's good climate for us there, the warmth, so we're in good shape. Most of the guys that are in the team are no stranger to that, and they're fully aware of what happened, our mistakes that we made, and and everybody understands what steps we made to, we design plays in order to correct those mistakes. So everybody is fully prepared for that.
Panthers' Jamal Angus takes up the role as captain, replacing Ryan Gonzalez. He is firmly confident that the team has what it takes to overcome Cayman Islands and have an improved showing in a challenge series.
Tactically, we were a bit outcoached. Those teams they play a high level of rugby consistently, and they have probably year-round tournaments, so their players are always in tune, always playing. We don't necessarily have that going for us, and it's very difficult when you just go stop and start and back into it. I believe, and some of those teams had players that play internationally around the world. Colombia had a few players that play in France, probably second tier, but it's still a very high level in comparison to the Caribbean. So those players and their coaches, they are year-round while we are stop and start. So it's very difficult for us to compete. But I believe this year we've tried to get our tactics better. Our training has been coming along much better than previous years. I believe we could do it this year.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
As far as your music is concerned, I love the fact that you said that more and more youngsters are coming and listening to your music. How has that helped you as far as your music is concerned? Do you even think about that when you're creating your music? Or do you just say, okay, I have a general audience and I'm just putting it out there? Do you consider your audience per se?
Yeah, I think my general audience happens to be from 5-year-olds all the way to 90-year-olds.
Because the music is clean.
Yeah, most of the arrangements that my father left for me to perform.
Welcome to the WWG 2019 War with Germs.
The Oxitec antimicrobial glove is wasting no time, folks.
Quite right, Tammy. I see no way for the germs duo to come back from this.
Oh, what a slam. What a slam. Oxitec is the winner in less than a minute. WWG champion of the world. Find our champion at www.psci.biz or give us a call at 417-0777.
Again, the major developments of this day: Guyana's chief elections officer rules out the possibility of elections until at least mid-year. And in sport, standing West Indies captain Craig Brathwaite calls for consistency from the team as they get set to take on England in the third and final test this weekend. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanonNews.com. And for more of our programming, log on to caribvision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again on Monday, but from all of us at CNC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night and a safe weekend.